In 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Live from Chattanooga, Tennessee, it's Nooganomics with David Tulis.
What is the local economy perspective on terrorist attacks in faraway countries such as France and that which occurred Friday in its capital? What are we supposed to make of that here? We have the prospect of Muslim immigrants from Syria. Many of them are fleeing a country that has been wrecked by American intervention. Some of them, no doubt, are Muslims. Probably most of them are Muslims, but they are from a different sect in the Islamic faith than those from Saudi Arabia, the Wahhabis, who are the most militant, the most consistent, we could say the most faithful to the three pillars of Islam: the Quran, the Hadith, and the Sirah. The Sirah being the biography of Mohammad, whose life is with its many murders, its adulteries, its fornications, its multiple marriages, some to very young girls, is the model for the faithful Muslim man whose heart is stricken with his sins and who wants, by his good deeds, his courage, to make good with Allah and to find his God's favor and the promise of eternal life. My name is David Tulis. We are here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. And there is a local economy angle on the story that has gripped the world. That is to say, the massacres by faithful Muslim men living out their convictions in Paris, gunning down music listeners at a night spot and rumbling by in rental cars, various and sundry restaurants, and firing into the windows and messing up the decor with 30 caliber bullets and bodies of the dead there in Paris, altogether in 6 locations. The local economy argument about Paris is non-intervention, and the non-interventionist theory is under some strain, however, because we have the idea that, well, if there is an attack by an identified group, ISIS, which has an identified town somewhere in Syria or Iraq, well, then we will drop bombs, as the French have, on that city. Or we will, as the Americans do, occasionally drop a desultory bit of fragmentation material over a hovel or a hut or a car convoy in the desert. Americans are very, very careless and casual attitude about their war making against their client being ISIS, in it to a degree. Of course, it's a client that has sort of found its own bearings after being strongly encouraged by Senator John McCain and others in its formation. The principles having met and having been coddled and protected in a federal prison, American prison, in Iraq. And now they have their own ideas. They have formed the caliphate and a nation state, if you will, that is seeking world hegemony with its opponents being national governments and democratic welfare states who can't find means of resisting their incursions by refugee. That is how the invasion is taking place in Europe, is by refugee, some of whom are indeed real refugees who have a right, we would say, to find a better situation. But others are part of the effort of jihad. Jihad is the continuing warfare against kafirs. That would be people like you, my listener, and people like me, the unbelievers, the infidels, the continuing war against all things that are not Muslim, all things that do not fit the monolithic system of life, law, worship, politics, culture, arts, music, and domestic life. That is, of course, the Islamic system. It is a world system. It is a comprehensive theory. And it is a rival to the other comprehensive theory that has had tremendous progress since the resurrection of the Lord Jesus Christ, and that is Christianity or Christendom. Christendom is the you might say the state within the state, the body of government, the body of culture, which arises from the revelation of the scriptures, the 66 books of the Bible. Well, the struggle, the struggle is great, and the pressure on the free market theory, the local economy theory, is great as well. And here's the point where I think you're gonna want to have to sweat. I'm gonna have to sweat my analysis a little bit, because if I'm an advocate of the open border theory, the non-state theory, with the idea that if you have a free market, you do not allow anybody to have compulsion and laws against people who are not criminals and not involved in criminal acts. How can you have a border which criminalizes all kinds of activity, such as crossing it, right? How can innocent people crossing from Guatemala, from Honduras, and from Mexico, coming to the United States, to any of the 50 states, how can they be criminalized for seeking a better life? Why is their liberty of movement suddenly stopped at the border? How come they can't cross over? Why is there no liberty for them to cross over when they are desperate for a better circumstance? They are desperate to come to a place where they can work, where their children can grow without the threat of drug cartel gunmen who sometimes arbitrarily massacre students and people on sidewalks and take people hostage who are never found. They come here and they want a better life. How is it that their acts are criminalized when they cross the border? Well, they're criminalized when they cross the border because we, the free American, we free Americans, have created a totalitarian state on that thin line. And in fact, well, if we just think about it, we have created a totalitarian state not just there, and not just 200 miles within the border, which is the roving border patrol checkpoints that border dwellers have to deal with, roving search and seizure missions by government, not just 200 miles from the border within the country, but in fact the whole country has been submitted thanks to the rise of progressivism, and you might say the weakness of Christianity, which is the protector of liberty. We have, in fact, submitted ourselves to a quasi-totalitarian, or at least an absolutist federal regime, strengthened repeatedly by Republican governors who become presidents, Republican senators who become presidents, and by Democrats, both national parties involved in the great work of submitting the American people, making the American people like you, my listener, making you submit to controls that only a servile and slave population would accept as normal. We accept things as normal, which a slave people would accept. And we are, of course, realists. And so we accept these things as slaves because we accept that we cannot have any kind of life without regulation. We cannot have life without checkpoints here, checkpoints there, without licenses, without permits, without permissions, and without constantly reporting our locations to the state. Our phone messages, our emails, our text messages, even possibly broadcasts like this one, they're recorded and analyzed. Their word content sifted for dissenting adversarial material to be used against the speaker later, right? If that speaker happens to come to the notice of the Fibbies who want to interview him or her and to write a Form 302 report after said interview, said document becoming locked into evidence as the only fact base of that encounter. We have had here in Chattanooga a dissenter of the Muslim theory facing the Form 302 and being told that it was an interview with her is being sought by the Fibbies, the FBI, for her vile discussions, her very sharp rebukes about the Muslim system of love, life, and culture. And so we know that we are under regulation, and so we the American people have submitted. But what about the border? Is there a way of understanding the border? Well, Lew Rockwell, according to a critic of libertarian thinking, Lew Rockwell has ceded some important ground as a principled libertarian. and recently has proposed that there be some kind of check on the American border, stronger than the one that's already there. Well, my name is David Tulis, and if you're going to get hungry this afternoon, I want you to remember that you need to go out to eat at a great restaurant. Make a point of going to this local eatery. It's called Choo Choo Barbecue here in Hickson. That's Hickson Choo Choo Barbecue, specializing in catering of pork, chicken, or beef. Choo Choo will come through for you. It has a secret rub. It has a delicious smoked flavor. And the restaurant is on Hickson Pike, just near Valley Brook. The number is 870-7894. That's 870-7894. We are AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. We believe in local economy and the free markets in Chattanooga and beyond. There's a great deal in the news cycle of which to make note. But TV9 is reporting that a critic of the winning Muslim way, a conservative law professor in Nashville, is continuing to be under fire for her what TV9 calls ultra conservative beliefs. I guess once you're criticized by the left-wing establishment at a Tennessee university, you become, if you're hostile perhaps to Islam or you're hostile perhaps to statism, you become one with ultra-conservative beliefs. But it says that she doesn't sway away from them, right? She doesn't sway from them. On the first day of class, I pretty much tell students that they've entered a political correctness-free zone. Carol Swain says, if we're going to educate them to be leaders, then we have to allow them to hear and respect more than one side of an issue. And the Vanderbilt students who are in her academic colleagues are trying to oust her because they don't like her views. They don't like her opinions. She's a tenured professor, and she's been on sabbatical for a time. This week, TV9 says several students started an online petition asking school leaders to suspend Professor Swain, claiming that she has become synonymous with bigotry, intolerance, and unprofessionalism. She says, I know that I've never had a student in my class complain that I have discriminated against them. Vanderbilt, of course, is a bankrupt, intellectually and academically bankrupt private institution that has taken all the appearances of a state-run institution. It has a chancellor, Nicholas Zeppos, and he says Professor Swain's opinion are her own. They do not reflect the opinions of the university in any way. Why does he say that? Why does he distance himself so quickly from his free speech defense, right? Free speech defense, which is one grain of sand thick. She says, I feel in many ways emotionally drained, but I have a lot of support across the country. And so it's sort of mixed. And that's Carol Swain, the professor. She took some fire in January for a column in the Tennessean newspaper, and the headline is Charlie Hebdo attacks prove critics were right about Islam. She says, what would it take to make us admit we were wrong about Islam? What horrendous attack would finally convince us that Islam is not like other religions in the United States, that it poses an absolute danger to us and our children unless it is monitored better than it has been under the Obama administration? She says, over the past few years, we have had a man in Middle Tennessee, when she's talking about an activist, Andrew Miller, and his Tennessee Freedom Coalition, speaking very favorably of him. She says, dismissed by some as a kook, a hater, and a bitter man, Miller, in my eye, has revealed himself to be a deeply committed man who sounded an alarm about Islam long before comedian Bill Maher and others were finally willing to admit that Islam is positively dangerous to our society. She says, the January 7th terrorist attack resulting in 12 deaths at the Paris office of Charlie Hebdo, that committed the satirical magazine that committed the apparently unpardonable sin of lampooning the Prophet Mohammad. Once again, she says, illustrates that Islam is a dangerous set of beliefs, totally incompatible with Western beliefs concerning freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, and freedom of association. Well, we have thousands of immigrants coming here to the country. They'll be coming. The ones designated for Chattanooga will be coming to the refugee center, Bridge Refugee Center, off of Howell Drive, which is just off of Highway 58 here in Chattanooga. there are in Nashville a very large Kurdish population. Of course, the Kurds are right now on the ground on the other side of the ocean fighting Muslim radicalism. But this community has 13,000 people. There's a quote from, let's see, who am I quoting here? Holly Johnson, who is the spokesman for Tennessee Office of Refugees based in Nashville, waiting for word about people coming here from Syria and other places. We're proud of the Kurds. They've done so well, and talk about sort of becoming a part of a community, but still sort of keeping dear the pieces of their own culture. We are going to be getting people here by federal plan and policy. I think that there probably is something very hostile to the idea of constitutional government, Christianity, and the free market in this effort. But on the other hand, people can't be strictly controlled, right, by their masters, the ones who bring them here. Many of them may be devout Muslims who are ready to explode at a moment's notice, at the first opportunity. But many others will be relieved that they are now free of the claim of Islam upon them. And though they may live in segregated areas in various towns across Tennessee, some will be yearning for the truth. Some will be yearning for Christianity. What are Christian churches, I wonder, doing today to prepare for the prospect of Muslim immigrants? We have a phone call. This is David Tulis, and you are on the air. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I have a comment and a couple of questions. A comment would be, are we crazy? Are we absolutely crazy to allow these people over here from Syria? That is the dumbest thing we could possibly do. There is no reason, logic, or common sense behind it. That's my comment. And my question is, do you think during World War II that we should have allowed some Germans to come over because maybe they weren't Nazis, or some Japanese to come over because maybe they didn't agree with the emperor during a war? We're at war. And why the hell should we care about Syria or the people there? We need to care about Americans. I could care less if they eat mud. There's a different culture there. They're different people. If we're going to rescue anybody, let's find the Christians in Syria and bring them over. The hell with the Muslims. Bye.
Well, there's something very sound in part of that comment, and that is, should we not be bringing over Christian people as opposed to Muslims? Well, don't forget, ISIL has destroyed as many Muslim lives as Christians and Yazidis and others who are not of their thinking. They've not attacked Israel, the Israeli socialist state, but they have created devastation among many Muslim populations that are not of their strict line of thinking. And about bringing up the Japanese that were here were interned illegally. They were interned by an executive order from President Roosevelt, and they were American citizens, and they were wrongly and criminally, I would like to suggest, imprisoned for the duration of the war. But Germans were not. There are hundreds of German communities all across the country. In many states, I know out west, there are German enclaves. These were not imprisoned similarly. I think the political cost would have been too great to have done so. But just because someone is a Syrian doesn't mean that he is a terrorist. And remember, Syria, though it is Muslim, is not of the same kind of Islamic thinking as those in Saudi Arabia. The federal government's primary ally in the Middle East is Saudi Arabia, the home of the Wahhabi sect. That is the most virulent, the most consistent, we could say the most honorable and the most distinctive Islamic grouping, because it holds to the strict form of Sharia law. And so the ones who come here, they're not likely to be the same as those that would come from Saudi Arabia, if these immigrants were indeed from Saudi Arabia, which they're not. They are fleeing a country that the American empire has devastated with its intervention, and continuing. We continue to hear stories about how the American empire should unseat Assad, the president, the dictator of that country. Well, my name is David Tulis. We are brought to you by Edward Jones, the financial advisor, specifically in the man of Patrick Neal. Patrick has an office for Edward Jones right next to the Target here on Highway 153, and he's behind the Cahutta Banking Company. Patrick Neal is your source of investment advice, and Edward Jones, the biggest privately held brokerage in the country, has a tremendous team of analysts looking for investment prospects, new businesses, new lines of industries, innovations that are good places in which to put your capital. That's Patrick Neal. Call him at 870-7894. That's 870-7894. My name is David Tulis. We argue that we should love our neighbor and buy local. What did local Democrats say? What is the Democratic Party's position? We'll find that the Democrats are as interventionist as the Republicans. They are as much a war-making party as the Republican Party. And I expect I'll be publishing the next day or so a brief for you, my listener and my reader, at Nooganomics.com, talking about the alternative to the Republican and Democrat duopoly, and that is the Tennessee Constitution Party. But we want to hear from Terry Lee, who is the chairman of the Democratic Party of Hamilton County, and we're going to ask him his analysis of the Middle East situation that would touch on immigration of foreigners from the Islamic world, and also whether the federal interventionist adventurist party duopoly should continue its intervention in the Mideast. This is David Tulis.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Expect a chilly start to your Monday with some clouds around, but looking dry through the afternoon. Highs back into the lower 60s. Tonight, some clouds not nearly as cool, lows closer to 50. For Tuesday, highs mid to upper 60s with areas of rain and thunder showers moving in later Wednesday. Join us for a Christmas auction and luncheon to benefit the media ministries of Abba's House next Sunday. Lots of great items for your holiday gifts, decorations, and food will be auctioned off. For tickets, abbashouse.com/auction. And I'm Sourcine 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Ward. On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
The Fed raising rates, China's economy in trouble. Don't let headlines derail your long-term financial strategy. I'm Edward Jones financial advisor Patrick Neal. At Edward Jones, we provide the tools for a reasoned, disciplined approach to investing. Stop by my office next to the Target Shopping Center in Hickson, or call me at 423-870-7894. That's Patrick Neal at 870-7894. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Member SIPC.
Do you have an event coming up for the holidays, or maybe it is your daughter's wedding, or maybe just a church or office party? Then you need to select Choo Choo Barbecue. That's correct, Choo Choo Barbecue. Whether you like pork, chicken, or beef, oh yes, Choo Choo Barbecue with their savory rub flavor. Oh my goodness, it's making me hungry right now. You add in their delicious smoked aroma, and you have set the table for a perfect meal with Choo Choo Barbecue. That's right, Choo Choo Barbecue. Why don't you give them a call right now? 423-843-9554. That's 843-9554. Call 423-843-9554. Choo Choo Barbecue. You know where it's located, off of Hickson Pike, right there at the Valley Brook area. Don't kid yourself. Your stomach is already on the way.
You want more business. You want to increase your bottom line. You want to spend less on advertising, imaging your business, and general expenses. You need Trade Bank. Trade Bank of Chattanooga. Trade Bank. Call now to get access to nearly 400 local businesses. Trade Bank. Call 877-2202. 877-2202. Trade Bank. You want to increase your cash flow, your competitive edge, attract new customers, and build a loyal customer base. You need Trade Bank of Chattanooga. Call right now. 877-2202. When you join Trade Bank, you'll get the benefit of free advertising in our monthly magazine, tradebank.com, emails, and mailouts. Join Trade Bank now and receive your Trade Bank debit card with trade credits to spend any way you want with our wide variety of Trade Bank partners. For almost 30 years, Trade Bank has been your voice for small business, a member of the American Bankers Association, and in good standing with you. Trade Bank of Chattanooga. Call now for a free consultation, 877-2202. That's 877-2202. Trade Bank of Chattanooga.
Do you feel better outside your home or business than in? Indoor air quality is important. Mildew, mold, smoke, water, and rodent damage are prime causes of poor indoor air quality. Ducts, Indoor Air Professionals, better known as Duct Busters, cleans HVAC systems using 127 definable Duct Busters steps. Let Mark Thompson address the indoor air quality at your business to help reduce employee illnesses. Prevent fires by cleaning your dryer vents. Mark and his parents, Dick and Joan Thompson, have been building our local economy and helping local people with HVAC systems 16 years. Ducts, Indoor Air Professionals. Call 876-9907. 876-9907. Ducks. Call now.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
Fox News Talk 1240.
Fox News Radio, I'm Paul Stevens. A Belgian, Abdelhamid Abaoud, pegged as the mastermind of the Paris terror attacks and a train attack stopped by 3 Americans in August. Parisians trying to move on.
I'm really, really scared, but I'm going to work anyways because this is... And I'm going to have drinks with my friends after that. And we're just pretending right now, but we're going to keep on doing this because that's how we live, so it's not going to change.
French police raiding numerous locations overnight. ISIS topic 1 at the G20 summit.
The president met with both King Salman of Saudi Arabia and Russian President Vladimir Putin to discuss the threat of the Islamic insurgents. President Obama and King Salman agreeing to redouble efforts against ISIS. The president and his Russian counterpart agreed UN-backed peace talks were necessary to end Syria's civil war.
Fox's Jessica Gallagher in Antalya, Turkey. Fox News, we report, you decide.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
Fox News Talk 1240.
Live from Chattanooga, Tennessee, it's Nooganomics with David Tulis.
This is David Tulis with AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. We believe that near is better than far, that small is better than big, and that simple is better than complex. These are the 3 main arguments for what we call local economy and the free market. These are the summary points. You might say the way local economy is built. It's built by people who have these ideas. By and large, they all kind of work together. None of them, not a single one of them is always true all the time in every circumstance, right? You understand that these are kind of general concepts, but these concepts have footnotes, and in the footnotes where the fleas fight in the small type with their scimitars and their lances, we've got personal is better than corporate and physical than abstract. We're brought to you by Nooganomics.com, the website for the man who matters, and also by Eric Pelton, the man who does your accounts, right? He's the numbers guy in Chattanooga. EJ Pelton Company is his business office in Saudi Daisy, by the way, just north of the Food City on Dayton Pike. His number is 622-3156. That's 622-3156. And you'll be able to keep more of what you've earned by having Eric advise you and handle your dealings with the good people, even the good people locally. We have on the phone Terry Lee, who is the chairman of the Hamilton County Democratic Party, and we wanted to ask him a little bit about the Paris attacks and the answers that the federal government might rightly propose or do in response thereto. Terry is a retired county juvenile court official, and we want to ask you, first of all, Terry, is not the Democratic Party the non-interventionist and peace party? Is it still that, or was it just that in the past?
Well, I think the Democratic Party always stands for a strong U.S. military. Where we stand right now is we feel it's ultimately important that that our money be prioritized and spent a lot on intelligence. Without adequate intelligence of knowing exactly who our enemies are and where they're at, we're not going to succeed in this new world we're living in. In the past, you could build a faster plane and with a better guidance system. You could develop aircraft carriers and more nuclear warheads and feel more secure. In today's world, when you're fighting groups like ISIS and militants who use guerrilla tactics, it's more important that we understand who they are, where they're at, and how we can attack. I think Democrats are in favor of, I think we have enough of the missiles, enough of the aircraft carriers and the expensive planes where one airplane costs more than 500 schools. It's important to have those, but I think we have more than 5 times as much of all of the world combined. And now it's a matter of knowing who our enemies are and where they are and how we can attack them.
Well, it seems like you're making an important point, but I wanted to get further back to the causes that the causes of events that might inspire us to think that we need to have this sort of asphyxiating surveillance that you're describing with favor. And that goes back to the whole idea of intervention in the Middle East. Ron Paul, whom I would say is probably our greatest statesman in the United States, he says that what we have in Paris and what we had here in Chattanooga with Mohammad Abdulaziz going on his one-man army rampage against the American military, these are a form of blowback which come because we are over there. We're trying to change regimes. We have bases all around these Arab countries, these Muslim countries in the Mideast, and we are provoking what we're getting. What does the Democratic Party say to that kind of thinking?
Well, I think it's important to realize that, especially when you're dealing with the Middle East, there are often unintended consequences. For example, no one questions that Saddam Hussein was a ruthless dictator. However, by going in and taking him out, it has destabilized that whole part of the world. Unfortunately, so many of those countries, and even breaking down into tribes, have been at war for over 4,000 years, and no intervention by the United States is going to solve that issue. We can stay in there for a few years, but unless we're planning on establishing permanent bases in almost every nation in the Middle East, we're not going to succeed. And I think that when we went into, I think the first George Bush had it a lot more right than the second George Bush. ISIS would not be in existence now were it not for the destabilization that came about when Saddam Hussein was taken out and America went in and intervened. Absolutely, those people, they're very tribal. You know, you've got the Shiites and the Kurds and so many other groups like that don't really look at themselves as a nation, but as a tribe of people who have been fighting for so many years. I think it's foolish to go in and think you can ride in on a white horse like John Wayne and bow them back to the Stone Age and all of a sudden think that all the problems of the world will be resolved. All it will do is create a much larger, much more complex, and much more dangerous situation. I think we'd all like to go in and be able to solve the problem and with military strength, resolve this issue, be through with it, and move on. But unfortunately, it's a very complex set of issues, and I just don't think that's. I don't think it's possible to take that kind of attitude towards the Middle East.
Oh, well, let me ask you this then. We're talking with this is David Tulis. We're talking with Terry Lee, who is the Democratic Party of Hamilton County chairman. Is there any hope for the idea of non-interventionism in the Democratic Party, or is it fair to say that the two leading candidates, Mr. Sanders and Mrs. Clinton, are in fact interventionists? They believe that America has a global role, as we say. It has to be over there. It has to be there with force and other military means. Is there any prospect of a non-interventionist stance at some point by the Democratic Party, the party of the common man, the party of peace, we're told in the past?
Well, I mean, I think we'd all prefer not to be involved. I think it's essential that we be involved in the Middle East. But like I said earlier, I think it's more of having better intelligence on the ground so that we know who our enemies are, and to be able to analyze both through our military and through our diplomats, determine what our best course of action. That it's almost like Chinese checkers. You know, you've got to plan 3 or 4 moves ahead, or like a game of chess. You can't simply say there's an enemy in front of us, let's destroy that enemy, and that'll solve the problem. You have to not only look at that, but what will happen once that situation is destabilized. What's going to be our next step, and will it put us in a better or worse position if we were going and remove certain leadership? I think that's a position that the Bush administration took very much the wrong stance in. I think like I said earlier, I think we'd all like to go in and resolve the issue will our military go in and conquer the area and move on and and let the Middle East function on its own. But I just don't think that's possible in today's world.
Well, what about this? This is let me make a local economy suggestion for the Middle East. We are here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, and our station favors local economy and the free markets, Terry Lee. And here's the argument that I think local economy in Hamilton County would make, that the United States should focus on trade. It should focus on friendly relations. It should stop shipping weapons. It should abandon regime change and other manipulation. It should respect national sovereignty, maintain a strong defense at home, including protecting the borders from those who may seek to do us harm. I think that would be a pretty fair summation of local economy. Is that in keeping with the Democratic Party ideal?
Parts of it. I don't think we can afford to totally ignore the Middle East. I don't think that's an option. We have to be involved, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we have to have troops on the ground. It doesn't mean that we have to automatically be firing rockets and missiles every moment. I think it's more of a matter of being able to keep up with who's in control and where our greatest threats lie. I mean, it would be absolutely devastating for America right now. I mean, if a terrorist really wants to attack America right now, if they went into a shopping mall the week before Thanksgiving and opened up a terrorist attack in a handful of cities, that could bring America's economy to a screeching halt and have the great impact, negative impact on our country for the next 10 years. We can't. So being able to ignore them is not an option. We have to keep up with who's in charge, who wants to do us harm, and what capability they have of doing that. I think where the two parties, the Democrat and Republicans, differ on that issue is the Republicans are much more want to go in and get involved in war. So I think that history proves that time and time and time again. And there's a time for war, but I think it's only after your peace negotiations have failed that you reach that point. I mean, there is a looming problem out there that with the Middle East that I don't think will ever be solved. Certainly great people like Jimmy Carter
why are we
make great
there?
contributions, and through his efforts, at least the state of Israel has been secured now since his administration. A lot of its neighboring enemies who wanted to destroy it have been kept at bay, and even some peace negotiations have worked over the years with friendly nations such as Egypt. But I don't think we can isolate ourselves. I don't think we can ignore it, especially since it's a major source of oil. But it is a situation where going in guns blazing and saying we're going to take everybody out is just simply not an option.
Well, is there a local economy perspective that the party has at all touching on this question, or do we simply have a national in the Democratic Party, a national and an international perspective? Is there no home is first perspective in the party?
Well, I think there is. I mean, I think there's certain things that America has done over the last few years along that line that have worked very successfully. Some of the nations that have been our enemy in the past, for example, Vietnam. It's not unusual to go into a clothing store now and see a shirt or pair of jeans or whatever that was made in Vietnam. Some trade there is good. I think it probably grates most Americans when we wish those jobs were kept in America and that buy American first. But unfortunately, with the price of the goods, they seem to sell in America. And there's certainly with America's economic strength, I think we can certainly have a dangle a carrot there in order for some of these nations to give us more favorable view. But the bottom line is it doesn't take but a handful of terrorists through the Middle East and around the world to create a great amount of havoc. And that's why I keep emphasizing our intelligence, beefing it up, having more people that are working on the ground, not with a gun, but with the ability to go in and infiltrate these groups and find out who our enemies are and what harm they expect to get from us. For example, during the original Soviet Afghanistan war, America supported the Afghan people and their warriors. And of course, that was back during the Reagan administration, and it wasn't too long until you have a leader named Osama bin Laden who emerges, and 10, 15 years later, we're all of a sudden looking down the barrel of the guns and weapons that we supplied those Afghani rebels. Yes, they did hold off the Soviet Union and help force the Soviet Union to basically file bankruptcy, but at the same time, it almost it's created an ongoing problem for America. It's cost us many trillions of dollars.
Well, let me just Terry Lee. This is David Tulis. We're talking with Terry Lee, the chairman of the Democratic Party of Hamilton County, and you are offering us a sweeping analysis of a global conflict, but I think my local listener, Terry, wants to know, is not the common man's party, is not that party, does it not have still in its bosom somewhere, despite years of abuse, the idea of peace? Well, and I know it's hard, it may be hard to get to, because we had Roosevelt, who got us into World War II, Kennedy, who got us into Vietnam, we had Carter, who got us into Iran, Clinton got us into Bosnia. These are your party's candidates. And when the Republicans wanted to have a war, an undeclared war, or an invasion, the Democratic Party was with it. And so my listeners wanting to know, is your party different from the Republican Party? Is there not a peace principle that you can espouse on behalf of your party, or that you would favor being adopted by the upper echelons of your party, Terry Lee?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any doubt about that. I mean, when you look at, for example, you mentioned Jimmy Carter. I mean, I don't think there's anybody been more of an advocate of peace. One of his strongest points is that you never win a war by killing someone's children. And certainly, peace is always our first option. But like I say, in the Middle East, it's not a matter of a dozen countries in the Middle East that either want to be favorable to the United States or go to war with us. It's a matter of so many tribes and sects and different groups in the Middle East that are not under any control by any one nation. I think in Iran and Iraq and those areas, it's a whole lot more important that whether you're a Shiite or a Sunni or other groups than it is whether you're a member of a certain nation.
Well, I think you're making a great point, Terry Lee, about these various sects. How is it, though, that we can define who the moderates are, whom we should give our M4 machine guns, our light anti-tank weapons, our other rockets, our light armored vehicles, our Humvees? Right now, there are very faithful, honorable Muslim regiments that are part of ISIS who have our equipment. How is it that your party will say, well, we don't know, we can't sort these various Muslim actors out, we just need to back out? Is there not some virtue in the Democratic Party, formerly the Party of Peace, backing out of the Middle East, which is a quagmire, possibly?
No, that's not my position at all. My position is we need to have more people infiltrate, both not just Americans, but of people from those nations, infiltrate and work for America in order to be able to get to the bottom of it and see where these real problems are. Is it a nation who is opposing America, or is it a particular sect of in that area that we need to attack and need to be able to supply? It's one thing to talk to diplomats at a table in Geneva or at the United Nations and to get their assurances on certain things. It's another to actually have people infiltrate and actually be out there on the ground who know what's going on and who are able to supply us with intelligence. I think that's where we've been greatly lacking in the last few years.
So are you saying if we have better intelligence? I'm sorry. Are you saying, Terry Lee of the Democratic Party of Hamilton County, that if we have better intelligence and maybe more refined nation building techniques, we can stop the hatred against us in the Middle East?
Oh, I think so. I think that works. It's an ongoing situation. For example, when the United States invaded Afghanistan, you notice it went very, very smoothly. Well, they used the principle there of dropping C-5 transports and loading them with bundles of $100 bills and went through through the countryside, paying off the people who were growing opium. That was a temporary situation during the Bush administration, but it certainly was not long going. So as soon as that money was gone, they were ready to kick us out and of course, attack us from behind. So, you've got the situation is constantly changing in the Middle East. It's not like you're going against communism in the old days of you've got a Cold War, you know who your friends are, you know who your enemies are, and they're clearly defined borders and people in control. This is a group of lone wolves in many cases that prescribe to some of the more radical aspects of Islam. It doesn't mean that everyone who's Islamic is against America. It simply means that it's a dangerous situation when you have all these people out viewing not only the world as a much different place than we do, but also America's role in the world. I think when we go in and intervene, we better know who our friends and enemies are, and I don't think we're in that position right now. I think we've improved it a lot over the last 7 years, but you've got to be careful. I mean, when President Obama came in, we had already spent over $1.5 trillion. That's with a T. $1,000 million. That put our nation in debt. It weakened America greatly. And what did we actually come away with there? We came away with almost nothing, other than losing the precious blood of thousands of young American men and women. The situation became more destabilized, and you have groups like ISIS and Al Qaeda and those groups that have grown. Strength doesn't always necessarily mean you go in with military and take over places, because you can occupy for a period of time, but unless you're willing to make a permit.
Terry, thanks so much for joining us here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio.
Okay, and by the way, I'd like to invite everyone out. The Democratic Party's having a fundraiser tonight from 4:30 to 7, the Chattanooga Choo Choo's Roosevelt Room. Feel free to come on out. All Democrats are welcome and have a time of fun and trip.
Okay, let me repeat that. Terry, let me repeat that. That's a fundraiser tonight for the Democratic Party at the Choo Choo Room at the Trade Center.
No, at the Chattanooga Choo Choo.
At the Chattanooga Choo Choo
Roosevelt Room, and it'll be from 4:45 until 7 p.m.
Okay, 4:45 to 7 p.m. This evening at the Roosevelt Room at the Chattanooga Choo Choo.
Yes, and we'll have speakers. Will be Mary Mancini, the chairperson of the Tennessee Democratic Party, Representative Joanne Favors, and Mayor Andy Burke will also be in attendance and be making address the crowd.
Well, thanks so much for being on the show, Terry Lee.
Okay, thank you. All righty.
Terry Lee is the chairman of the Democratic Party of Hamilton County, and there's a fundraiser this evening for the party here at the Hamilton County Party here in Chattanooga in Hamilton County, which is very much like the Republican Party. It does not, as we heard from Terry Lee, there's not a sense of needing to avoid intervention in global affairs. It is the party of intervention, just like the Republican Party. David Tulis, you're on the air. What's on your mind, caller? We've got a minute.
Well, I couldn't stand him with more. I couldn't take any more of his lies. The Democratic Party is not only a war party; it's a war party against the American people via the Internal Revenue Service and the IRS and the Feds, so against patriots. His Democrat cohorts, 100% of them agree to go to war with Bush. They're big, fat prevaricators. Look at Roosevelt. Look at every Democrat that brought us into war that took a Republican to get us out. And I'm not saying the Republican is not the war party, but he is a liar. They are a bunch of liars.
This is David Tulis. I do thank you for that comment. We are hearing a very noisy accusation against the Democratic Party as being made up of liars. Well, maybe so. I would say the thing more worthy of note is that the Democrats are interventionists, right? They are nationalists, just like the Republicans. The question is, how do we get past them? How do we get around them? They control the national government, they and the Republicans. And so the argument is local economy and the free market. It is an argument which I admit is very weak. Now, if you want to find out more about local economy, there's a great essay by Charles Hugh Smith, one of my favorite writers, and it's at Nooganomics.com. He's talking about the creation parallel to the debt-saddled and corrupt and largely broken national system of what he calls community economies. And it's his word for local economies where there's an identification with place, not necessarily strictly identification with an ideology, which is what you have with the Republicans and, as Terry Lee suggests, with Democrats. Go to Nooganomics.com. That is the website for the man who matters. We are here not just complaining about things. We want to try to find solutions. And I have these points to make so that you'll think about the solutions and desiring them. This is David Tulis.
Expect a chilly start to your Monday with some clouds around, but looking dry through the afternoon. Highs back into the lower 60s. Tonight, some clouds not nearly as cool, lows closer to 50. For Tuesday, highs mid to upper 60s with areas of rain and thunder showers moving in later Wednesday. Join us for a Christmas auction and luncheon to benefit the media ministries of Abba's House next Sunday. Lots of great items for your holiday gifts, decorations, and food will be auctioned off. For tickets, abbashouse.com/auction. And I'm Source Jeans Wall, Chief Meteorologist Patrick Ward. On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
If you have an event coming up for the holidays, or maybe it is your daughter's wedding, or maybe just a church or office party, then you need to select Choo Choo Barbecue. That's correct, Choo Choo Barbecue. Whether you like pork, chicken, or beef, oh yes, Choo Choo Barbecue with their savory rub flavor. Oh my goodness, it's making me hungry right now. You add in their delicious smoked aroma, and you have set the table for a perfect meal with Choo Choo Barbecue. That's right, Choo Choo Barbecue. Why don't you give them a call right now? 423-843-9554. That's 843-9554. Call 423-843-9554. Choo Choo Barbecue. You know where it's located, off of Hickson Pike, right there at the Valley Brook area. Don't kid yourself. Your stomach is already on the way.
Cell Surgeon, an affordable quick fix for your smartphone and tablet in Northgate Mall next to Old Chicago Pizza.
We do the best quality work. We have the best customer service and most competitive prices around.
Cell Surgeon, a painless operation to fix your sick device.
Well, if you have a cheap charger or something that's not really designed for your phone, it can mess with your battery. It can actually fry your phone. So you need to make sure you have a quality product that's going to be designed for your phone.
Cell Surgeon, your smartphone doctor's in the house at the Northgate Mall next to Old Chicago Pizza.
If you charge it in the morning and, by noon, it's at, 50% under normal use. That means your battery's pretty much dead. And once you've reached that point, it starts to deteriorate.
Cell Surgeon. Call 423-668-0100 or go to cellphonerepairchattanooga.com.
We do free estimates. If your phone's not working properly, bring it in. We're more happy to take a look at it and diagnose it and see what we think is wrong with it at no charge. Most phone repairs can be done in 30 minutes or less.
Cell Surgeon, an affordable quick fix for your smartphone and tablet in Northgate Mall next to Old Chicago Pizza.
Don't take it in the bathroom. Don't ever put it in your back pocket. And don't charge your phone while you're sleeping.
Cell Surgeon, an affordable quick fix for your smartphone and tablet in Northgate Mall next to Old Chicago Pizza. Call 423-668-0100 or go to cellphonerepairchattanooga.com. That's cellphonerepairchattanooga.com. Cell Surgeon, your smart device doctor is in the house.
I love my Flex loan from Advance Financial. I needed cash, I needed it fast, and I didn't want to get a payday loan. My Flex loan from Advance Financial is not a payday loan. It's a line of credit. I only pay for the cash I need, and I only pay for the time that I need it. There's no lump sum payment. My Advance Financial Flex loan is an open line of credit, and I can get cash anytime I need it.
Visit one of our 24/7 locations and get the cash you need today. Advance Financial. Welcome.
Are you tired of working in corporate America, or have you recently lost your job and would like to consider owning your own business? If you are, please call me, as I can help you look at franchises or business opportunities that fit you, the economy that we're in, and the type of businesses that are right in the greater Chattanooga area. After I help my clients find the right opportunity, I also help them find the best way to finance the business, including paying yourself through the startup phase. If you would like to learn more about opportunities that may be right for you, please call me for a free assessment. My name is Bruce Krebs at the Entrepreneur Source. Phone number is 423-875-5621.
Here you are, working to keep your customers happy and to manage your cash flow. IRS problems are the last thing you need, but here they are, flapping about you like vultures. Get help from Eric Pelton and his team of accountants at E.J. Pelton Company. Audits, letters, proposed return changes, 1099s, penalty threats. Pelton Tax Resolution Services brings peace of mind and helps you keep more of what you've earned. EJPelton.com. Offices on Brainerd Road and in Saudi Daisy, just north of the Bilo. That's EJ Pelton. Call 622-3156. Think ahead, 622-3156.
If the South would have won, we'd have had it made. I'd probably run for president of the southern states. The day of us passed away.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
WSDT Saudi Daisy, Chattanooga.
CBS News, I'm Frank Sedapani. ISIS terrorism has been front and center at the G20 summit ended today in Turkey. Moments ago, President Obama called ISIS the face of evil and spoke about what's being done to address the threat and track down those responsible for the attacks Friday night in Paris.
We're working closely with our French partners as they pursue their investigations and track down suspects. France is already a strong counterterrorism partner, and today we're announcing a new agreement. We're streamlining the process by which we share intelligence and operational military information with France.
The president said the G20 is united in its resolve to degrade and destroy ISIS. Here at home, some of the presidential candidates and other high-profile Republicans made the rounds on the morning talk shows, calling the president's response to the ISIS threat half-hearted and to suggest that a ground war against ISIS may be inevitable. President Francois Hollande is scheduled to address the French Parliament minutes from now, asking for an extension of the emergency powers that were imposed after the attacks Friday night. CBS News correspondent Elizabeth Palmer.
Among other things, that will let authorities order house arrests and also to break up any large public gatherings. It could go well into the new year.
CBS News correspondent Vicky Barker is standing by in Paris, live with the latest on the manhunt for the Paris attackers who got away and other accomplices.
About 24 people have been arrested and dozens of weapons seized in a series of raids on suspected Islamist militants across France. But the suspected 8th attacker, Saleh Abdeslam, still on the run after apparently escaping during Friday's carnage. His brother Brahim was one of the 7 who died. Another brother, Mohammad, has been released after questioning. Belgian police convinced he was not involved. And another names emerged today. Belgian national Abdelhamid Abaoud, now considered the ringleader. He is currently in Syria. Frank.
France took the fight against ISIS to Raqqa, Syria overnight. Martin Chuloff, reporting from Beirut via Skype, tells us the de facto capital of the Islamic State was an obvious target for French airstrikes.
The atrocities in Paris were planned from. It is a base for some of its most senior leaders and certainly the military leadership.
In this country, security is being stepped up at lightly defended targets like the ones that were hit in Paris. New York City Police Commissioner William Bratton.
We have no shortage of soft targets, which is the problem. We're going to have to rely very heavily on public awareness.
The FBI and state police are looking for weapons that were stolen during a break-in at an Army Reserve Center in Worcester, Massachusetts. Officials aren't sure when the break-in took place or how many weapons may be missing. There's no indication at this point that the theft is connected to terrorism. In early trading on Wall Street, the Dow Industrials are up 58 points. This is CBS News.
Are you paying too much for term life insurance? I'm Jim O'Connor, independent life insurance agent specializing in term life insurance. There's been a price war between the major life insurance companies. If you've had your term life policy more than 2 years, you may be paying too much. For example, a male age 45 non-tobacco user issue preferred best, $1 million of coverage is only $56 a month guaranteed level for 10 years. Or a male age 50 non-tobacco user issue preferred best, $500,000 of coverage is only $91 a month guaranteed level for 20 years. The life insurance industry is going through exciting changes. Make sure you're not paying too much for your term insurance. For new or replacement term life insurance, call for a free quote. 800-799-0903. That's 800-799-0903. Don't pay too much for your term insurance. Call 800-799-0903 or visit my website at term22.com. That's term22.com. Rates based on standard underwriting and may vary by state.
Business and government are teaming up to spread the word about a serious public health concern. CBS's Sabrina Cupid has the story from Atlanta.
Starting today, when you sit down on a plane or check out at Walmart, you might hear this.
Do you know that taking antibiotics when they aren't needed can cause more harm than good?
Walmart and JetBlue among the more than 100 organizations helping get the word out about proper use of antibiotics.
We're just trying to improve how antibiotics are used so that when we really need them to work, they will be effective.
The CDC's Lori Hicks tells me each year 2 million Americans are infected with a germ that may not respond to antibiotics. Sabrina Cupid for CBS News, Atlanta.
Marriott International is buying the Starwood hotel chain for more than $12 billion. The deal would solidify Marriott's standing as the world's biggest hospitality chain with 5,500 properties and more than 1.1 million hotel rooms around the world. Frank Settapani, CBS News.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Live from Chattanooga, Tennessee, it's Nooganomics with David Tulis.
In the afternoon, when the editors at the Chattanooga Times-Free Press gather for their budget meeting, they look over the offerings from the local side, Chris Vast and City Desk, and that team of writers and reporters. What do they have to offer for that day? And then the budget includes also the wire stories that are of national and international import. And then these are all sifted. What's on page one? What's a must to get in tight space? There's always tight space at the newspaper today. And how do we allocate our resources given the limitations of our outlay? The outlay, of course, is the space granted to that edition, where advertisers fill most of the spaces, and there are holes here and there on the tops of pages, which is the news hole for the day. Well, the national government has a budget as well. And today, the budget for sun dimming activities is in favor of the government. And that is because over Hamilton County, thanks to a second day now of stratospheric aerosol geoengineering, we have a dim sun. Look outside and you'll see what I'm talking about. It is, in many ways, a kind of a tormented sky. It doesn't look anything natural that you would see from the hand of God in nature, through the agency of nature, if you will. But what you see is a sky that is clogged and manipulated by the emission of jet plumes. These jet plumes, according to Dr. Herndon in San Diego, are made of a recycled product. And I think we could be very glad that the national government has discovered new heights for recycling, and that is coal fly ash. Now, coal fly ash is something that's prevented by regulatory apparatus at EPA from being thrown into the atmosphere from smokestacks at coal plants, right? Coal burning energy plants from TVA, Southern Company, and many others. There are scrubbers that are in place by law that scrub the coal of various kinds of ash, including fly ash, the lightest type, which flies up the flume in the boiler. And yet that product, which ordinarily is stored in the millions of tons in mud lakes, is the material, according to Dr. Herndon, that is being recycled to dim the sun. And today over Chattanooga, we have an artificial sky. It is one more intervention that people responsible for the public health ignore, and public officials readily ignore. That's why I have made not a single effort really to ask public officials about it. But I'm making a start in the second year of our radio station, Hot News Talk Radio, to approach the Air Pollution Control Board. I have requested to make a presentation before the board, in which I will present Dr. Herndon's paper, which has been retracted. It has been retracted. I'll present that paper. Once something is said, I don't think it can easily be unsaid, especially if the little mathematical error was fixed in the graphic. And to present a query to these local people who represent this board. And the board enforces by adoption the EPA laws, the Clean Air Act. And so they have a statutory duty, but they also have a lococentric duty, which is a duty apart from simply what's authorized by statute. The poison of coal fly ash includes aluminum, strontium, and barium, but none of these are considered pollutants, and they are in the air all the time. Now, the federal government in January cut off the monitoring station for those materials. And so we're not going to have any further record of the geoengineering activity over the county in the future. It ended in January. And so the data I got as a result of an open records request goes last year, but ends January 31st. And so we will not find out any more about aluminum intake in the air in Hamilton County. But it is here all the time, especially on days like today when you have this coal fly ash, I would like to suggest, being disseminated as a form of negative emission, right? You have positive emissions, which are evil, wicked, and need to be controlled, such as carbon dioxide from human breath and nitrogen oxide out of the tail ends of Volkswagen Jettas. Well, we have it here. This is positive being led because it's being led by the government. It is positive, and theoretically, it has a theoretical and academic benefit of dimming the sun. That process is called albedo modification, and we have it here in Hamilton County. We have, though, there's a form of negative, positive emissions that occurs from a fire in Lafayette, Georgia. It was a fire Friday and Saturday, and it is the Barwick Mills plant went blazing, and firefighters from both Tennessee and Georgia were there to help put out the flames. A continuous stream of water aims to cool off the plant Sunday morning. TV3 is reporting. It's Kate Smith is Josh Roden and Kate Smith are the reporters on that. David Hamilton, the Lafayette city manager, says most first responders haven't gotten very much rest, maybe 2 or 3 hours here and there. They have done a great job, and we appreciate all the help we've gotten from the local area, Tennessee, Walker, Catoosa, and plus other agencies. He says the smoke is continuing to billow from the building, and of course the concern is, the story expresses concern not for the property loss to the owner, but to the abstract ownership of the environment. That's the great concern, is what is the smoke having to do on the environment? We are trying to determine what it is that is coming out of the building and how to contain it, how to protect the stream. EPA is doing air monitoring. We are testing the stream and testing what we can in our wastewater treatment plant. And that the air quality is being sampled and tested. The history of this plant has officials concerned. They used to dye yarn, dye textiles here. We just don't know until we get testing back exactly what it is. Latex is thought to be some of the source of the burning. But again, with that these are positive emissions, which are, if not illegal, they're cause for concern. But the negative emissions that you see up in the sky, just look up. You'll see what I'm talking about. Those are allowed and in secret. And though illegal, it doesn't matter that they are illegal because there's a deep state interest, at least a state military interest in those emissions. This is David Tulis. We are at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. We are the station that has CBS Radio News. We're the CBS Radio affiliate. We have NFL, and we'll have this coming Sunday, the last of NASCAR. We're the NASCAR station, and just greatly enjoy bringing that to you. And I'm struggling to become the #1 host here at our All Talk station. I've got Sean Hannity probably ahead of me. I've got the kid, Russell, who is the digital drive expert. I've got Keon Rose. I'm certain Keon Rose is ahead of me with sports at 1 o'clock. And then we have the convivialist, Eric Judd, who just makes things so light. And we have a great deal of work to do against him, too, because he makes things seem so easy. He makes things all about enjoyment. My goal is, I guess it's enjoyment, but it's also kind of work. Okay, we're here, I think, to make a kind of a spiritual labor, kind of intellectual labor, bringing better prosperity, bringing more prosperity to Chattanooga and Hamilton County. And you may be just traveling through here, and in your town, these ideas apply as well. Local economy here we call noogacentrism, right? I am the guru of noogacentrism, but you can have it in your town too. Even if you can't make even though you can't make a handy word out of it, You come from Dunlap. Are you Dunlap centric? Well, I guess you could say that. Or are you from St. Louis? Do we say St. Louis centric? Well, you could say that, maybe a little clunky, but it's okay. Our ideas are not trademarked. You can take them at will. Feel free to use all of our handy sayings, such as love your neighbor and buy local. Take credit for it if you want. That's quite all right. This is David Tulis, and caller, you're on the air. What's on your mind? We are, as I say, the talk station, and we're brought to you by Chattanooga Sports Institute. Danielle Mitchell is the physician there, the physician who lost, by her own zealous exercise and change of diet, 100 pounds, 100 pounds lighter. And she runs a family practice that has an orthopedics angle and an urgent care prospect at Chattanooga Sports Institute. Go to ChattanoogaSportsInstitute.com. You can call Danielle and make an appointment at 875-1005. That's 875-1005. Danielle is host of our great local show, This Doc is in the House, and her office is on North Access Road, just not far from Access Family Pharmacy here in Hickson. I do appreciate her very strong local economy arguments and interest. We are in the same line as her. We were talking with Terry Lee of the Democratic Party of Hamilton County, and I want you to understand that the Democratic Party, which had its debate Saturday, is very much like the Republican Party, and it doesn't really offer a diverse argument. There is no peace party, and to say that you are for peace, I know it sounds like it's you might sound naive somehow, that you're this sort of dreamy college student who's just for peace. Well, there is such a thing as peace, and we can talk about it in terms of non-interventionism. This is David Tulis, caller. You're on the air.
Hello?
This is David Tulis. You're on the air. What's on your mind, caller? Well, I need to have a call screener, but we're a very, very tiny station. We have a telephone, we have a board, and I've got my mic. I'm looking out here over the parking lot, and Lew Rockwell is making note that Ron Paul is right about terrorism. He tells about how he saw George Stephanopoulos and a panel that included Bill Kristol and some other neoconservatives. They all agreed, he says, that Trump is dead because people will want a man experienced in government and foreign and intelligence affairs like the puppet Rubio, or like the heads of the French state. No hint any place of Ron Paul's warning about blowback, he says. France has been killing Muslim civilians in North Africa and the Middle East for more than 2 centuries to maintain its control and its looting. Now it does so as a U.S. satrap, he says. In all modern wars, civilians comprise the vast majority of deaths and maimings. Of course, the Muslims were horrifically wrong to attack civilians, but only some Christians agree with Jesus Christ on such matters. Bernie Sanders, in the debate, said that climate change is directly related to the growth of terrorism. This was a comment he made that the climate change, which of course is connected with the stripes in the sky, that surpasses the threat, the military and paramilitary threat of Islam. Now, I don't believe that any of the three on the podium, that included Mrs. Clinton and former Maryland Governor O'Malley, that they had anything evil to say about the Islamic system. Islam is a political ideology. It is a political ideology like communism. It is comprehensive. It is total. It is state-oriented. It is highly, highly state-centric. It is the caliphate, of course, is a autocracy. It is a kind of theocratic dictatorship. Like what we have in our country, except that in our country is not doesn't have any explicit connection to God, but it does have its deity. You could say is national security. That is the deity of the American state. But is terrorism more dangerous than global warming? Caller, this is David Tulis, and you're on the air. What's on your mind?
Hey, do you hear me?
What's on your mind, caller? This is David Tulis.
Okay, so I was just watching like the live video, the live that you were doing, and on YouTube and in the description, there's writing like a statement who said like Jihad is linked to Islam theory, and every convert people is linked to be an assassin or a terrorist. Is it true?
Yes, the idea that's a great question. The idea of the Muslim theology is that we all in our place have to serve Allah. Is that correct?
Can you repeat which law?
To serve Allah, the Muslim deity.
Okay.
Well, and not every person who is a faithful Muslim can be a jihadist. Some can be, and they're the ones who are encouraged to make war on.
I'm not talking about like specific person, right? I'm talking about the general theology. So for you, in the general theology, jihad is linked, like is automatically linked with terrorism and assassin people. Is it true?
Well, listen, I really appreciate your calling me. I think it's very, very kind of you to call me. But yes, I'm not saying that every person who's a Muslim is a terrorist. Okay, that's not what we're suggesting.
I totally understand that. I respect that you don't mix every Muslim people, and that like it's very humble to say that. But my point is what I'm asking you is I'm not talking about people or Muslim in general. I'm talking about like the theology. Is it true that jihad equals war or terrorism? That's my question.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. The question is jihad? Does jihad always imply war or terrorism? Well, no. Jihad has many forms.
But in the Muslim theology, because when in the description you make the statement or that jihad is linked to the Islam theology, that's true. But when you add every convert is linked to terrorism and assassin, it means that it's linked between jihad and terrorism.
Okay,
so I just want to know your view about it.
Well,
so for you,
go ahead.
Is jihad equals terrorism, or jihad does not equal terrorism?
Well, listen, you're a brave man to call me. Thank you very much for doing that. Let me try to answer that in the moment that I have. The idea that I'm commenting, this is if you're the listener, the caller is referring to the description I have on the YouTube channel, which is the title of our show today is Foreign Policy of Local Economy is Non-Intervention, and in the description I say that every Muslim potentially can be an assassin. Now, and I say that because I say that because not every Muslim is, of course, but he can be if he has occasion to become, or if he has the right kind of theological encouragement from the local imam or a good book on Islam, he might come.
Okay, so it's local, so it's not a general theory. So it contradicts the statement which is in the description link. Just because the statement who was made in the YouTube link,
yes,
is kind of a general statement, and what you said contradicts with the statement. And if you want to do some research to maybe change the link, the statement, if you can, then
well, listen,
I'm not obligating you to just as a regular person. I have the duty to call you and to give you some advice, and you take it or not.
Well, thank you very much.
So what I know about jihad, if you go to a translate, like just for the word jihad, if you go to translate the word, if you want to translate it, it's to make an effort. So to make an effort, and in Islam, there is the first jihad is to obey or to the parents, etc., etc., etc.
Well, we're talking.
Then there are some persons, as you said, some local imams and stuff who use this word and this theology to lie for personal and political purposes, to use it for war, etc., etc. So I wanted to say that the statement is half true and half wrong, and maybe some people can be offended by this statement. So that's what I wanted to say about it. So,
well, I thank you very much for calling. Yeah. I appreciate that. We have a good call there, and there's a comment about my description of our show today on YouTube. And by all means, I will go back and look at that. If something I'm saying is half true and is clearly an error, then I will fix that. I do thank you for the call. We are on YouTube. The channel is Hot News Talk Radio. And a man of Middle Eastern descent, it sounds like, is wanting me to clarify something. But the point that I wanted to make about every Muslim potentially being an enemy is not to be lightly dismissed. And I take that because I make the comment because Islam it is a religious faith in addition to being a political ideology. And so if one wants to have God's favor, one must become stronger and more earnest and work harder in his service. And the service of Islam is jihad. There are many kinds of jihad, but the one we're talking about in Paris, of course, is the military bloodletting kind. And that is the highest form. That is the highest and best form. Not everyone can do that. Not every faithful Muslim can be the bearer of an AK-47. Others make jihad by other means that are non-military, that are, you might say, in the marketplace. They are in culture. They are in preaching. They're in religion. They are in commerce. It is a comprehensive system. Christianity is a comprehensive system too. Do you know Christian people who are not aware of that? This is David Tulis.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Expect a chilly start to your Monday with some clouds around, but looking dry through the afternoon. Highs back into the lower 60s. Tonight, some clouds not nearly as cool, lows closer to 50. For Tuesday, highs mid to upper 60s with areas of rain and thunder showers moving in later Wednesday. Join us for a Christmas auction and luncheon to benefit the media ministries of Abba's House next Sunday. Lots of great items for your holiday gifts, decorations, and food will be auctioned off. For tickets, abbashouse.com/auction. And I'm Shorsheen Twal, Chief Meteorologist Patrick Ward. On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
You have an event coming up for the holidays, or maybe it is your daughter's wedding, or maybe just a church or office party, then you need to select Choo Choo Barbecue. That's correct, Choo Choo Barbecue. Whether you like pork, chicken, or beef, oh yes, Choo Choo Barbecue with their savory rub flavor. Oh my goodness, it's making me hungry right now. You add in their delicious smoked aroma, and you have set the table for a perfect meal with Choo Choo Barbecue. That's right, Choo Choo Barbecue. Why don't you give them a call right now? 423-843-9554. That's 843-9554. Call 423-843-9554. Choo Choo Barbecue. You know where it's located, off of Hickson Pike, right there at the Valley Brook area. Don't kid yourself. Your stomach is already on the way.
Hello, I'm Sheriff Jim Hammond with the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office. Everyone knows training is important, especially when it comes to training our local law enforcement. Effective training helps keep our officers proficient and able to respond to a multitude of events to keep the citizens of Hamilton County safe. In order to support our local law enforcement and make sure that they have the tools necessary to train and do their job, the Aegis Foundation of Greater Chattanooga is actively trying to raise $70,000 in our community to purchase a state-of-the-art visual firearms training simulator. The training lab is an interactive firearms simulation system that will help local law enforcement consistently train for a variety of life-threatening situations that they face each and every day. Training tools like this are not cheap. If you or your company would like to donate and help support the Aegis Foundation's goal to purchase one of these machines, please contact 423-886-1850. Once again, please contact 423-886-1850.
Lay your burdens down at the Woodhouse. Leave all your worries at the door. Just take some time. We're transforming life.
Happy holidays at the Wood. From the Woodhouse Day Spa. Holiday gift cards available at chattanooga.woodhousespas.com. I love my Flex loan from Advance Financial. I needed cash, I needed it fast, and I didn't want to get a payday loan. My Flex loan from Advanced Financial is not a payday loan. It's a line of credit. I only pay for the cash I need, and I only pay for the time that I need it. There's no lump sum payment. My Advanced Financial Flex loan is an open line of credit, and I can get cash anytime I need it.
Visit one of our 24/7 locations and get the cash you need today. Advanced Financial, welcome.
Are you tired of feeling like just another account number to your financial advisor? Try something refreshingly different. Call Edward Jones Financial Advisor Patrick Neal in Hickson at 870-7894. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Member SIPC.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Fox News Radio, I'm Paul Stevens. French police raiding 168 locations, detaining nearly 24 people, all accused of being part of a sleeper cell behind the Friday Paris terrorist attacks. Meantime, a new ISIS video warns of similar attacks in other countries.
For nearly a year, they have been calling on their followers to conduct lone wolf operations, and now they've clearly switched to operations that, since Charlie Hebdo, really have been inspired by and driven by people based in the so-called Islamic Caliphate, which straddles Syria and Iraq.
Sky News reporter Sam Kiley in northern Iraq. The Paris attacks raising questions about the U.S. taking any more Syrian refugees.
Deputy National Security Advisor Ben Rhodes says the process involves intelligence agencies and extensive interviews. But New York Congressman Republican Peter King says the program should be put on hold.
Fox Radio's Jared Halpern in Washington. Fox News, we report. You decide.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Live from Chattanooga, Tennessee, it's Nooganomics with David Tulis.
The American economy is hyper-financialized. It is a kind of plantation economy. It's not diverse. It's not myriad. It has many, many elements that suggest these two words that are the descriptions of a centralized economy. And we can understand why that happens. It comes because we have a highly centralized national government, and we have a centralized banking system, centralized under the Federal Reserve System, the issuer of the national currency. The printer, well, it's not the printer of it. It is the issuer of it. It's on its credit, and there is centralization all about. But centralization, especially when the cartels and crony capitalists come to feed off of national government, to feed out of the treasury trough, if you will, is an economy that becomes increasingly brittle, increasingly marked by unreality. And the chief fuel of the unreality of the national economy is credit, and the money essentially is free. We have ZIRP in progress, ZIRP, zero interest rate policy, and we have the prospect of NIRP ahead, negative interest rate policy, in which the bank, in which you have to pay the bank for it to hold your money. That is an economy that is in danger. And I'm suggesting to you, my listener, that you find an alternative theory for your investment capital. I would like you to think that if you invest locally, you may do better financially. You may do may do a good thing to avoid the coming cataclysm, which is simply the return of reality to a drunken party where the punch bowl is constantly full, and the patrons are staggering around, falling over the couches, bumping into the door jambs, and making fools of themselves. That is a picture of national economy on easy credit, which creates a vast forest. The forest is of malinvestment. And of course, we have an overgrown forest. You have all kinds of life competing in the shadows there, and no one's really can survive. No one can really come out on top. And it is a forest waiting for a great fire. The great fire will eliminate the dead wood, eliminate what we can easily call malinvestment. And that malinvestment is ahead. We have it's not ahead. It's built up in the economy already as the deadwood. The zombie corporations, the banks too big to fail, the securities markets that are based on government promises and myriad interlocking contracts and bets on contracts and bets left and right, premised all on credit. We have, I think, about 25% of the national economy is financialized, which means to say that it is ballooned. The dollar numbers in it are in the trillions and trillions of dollars, all speculative dollars, not real dollars. They are just, you might say, monopoly money. I've got on Nooganomics.com today an important post from a couple of days ago by Charles Hugh Smith. And he is saying that there is a solution, and that our show is about that solution. And I want you to concentrate on the answers to this national debacle by thinking, what can I do here, right? Not what can they do for me over there in Washington or in New York or in Nashville, but what can we do here to prosper ourselves first and then our neighbors? Because after all, capitalism is always is finding a way of helping the other person prosper, right? You're doing that by reducing his costs, helping him fix broken machinery, helping him replace older machinery with newer that reduces costs and are readily amortized. And you're finding a way of making your customer succeed. That's why you're in business, right? You're not in business just to make money come in. You are in business because you're trying to help somebody. And I'd say there are always exceptions to that generalization, but generally, even owners of big companies would say, we're here for the customer. You go to a giant contractor who has millions of dollars coming in. He has his original idea, the man at the top. He says, well, we're here because we want to help our business customers prosper. We're going to give them the cheapest building on the best lot with the best design for durability and convenience, and it's all here. We're here for that party, and that's a wonderful ideal of the marketplace, and that's what we want more of. We want more marketplace, less intervention, less government people there to help their friends or there to help themselves or to help the government itself become a key player. We don't want government as the key player. We want you, the listener, here at AM 1240 to be the key player in a giant market. No, in your area, right? In your area. And so the view that we have as we kind of analyze the marketplace is local economy and free markets. It's decentralized. It's highly horizontal. We have a national debt economy, and we have government control through corporations. And and what we want is, what we're trying for is to have a marketplace that's not government run, right? Not government controlled and not government run, but really run by local people locally who own their businesses, and ones which are not dominated by what we call moral hazard. Moral hazard is when government intervenes and it creates artificial markets. And it creates demands that aren't ordinarily there, but they're there because the government is a player now, like with home health care, right? Or testing on senior citizens, medical testing on senior citizens. There's a whole racket that develops, and we can see stories in the Wall Street Journal periodically about this. There's a whole racket on getting people onto Social Security disability. In fact, an industry has been built on raking the economy, mining the economy for people who can possibly sign up for disability. And these companies will help get you the free load of money that comes into your direct deposit, checking account by direct deposit every month. And you don't have to do anything. You just pay them a percentage. That's how it works. You pay a percentage if they get you in. And so you see, it's an artificial demand stimulated by an artificial thing in the economy, and the alternative is a community economy that Charles Hugh Smith said allows for priorities and goals other than maximizing profit. One that's not funded by the state, one that is locally owned and operated, not controlled by distant corporate hierarchies, and not dominated by this hazard where you don't have to pay you don't have to pay the cost of your losses. And that's what's happened in the national economy is people don't have to pay for losses. Losses are socialized and profits are privatized. Now, to hear a little bit more about how this works here in Chattanooga, I've got a man here in the studio, Eric Judd, who is an entrepreneur in several ways. He's connected with our radio station, and he and I do sales for our station at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. If you want, you, our listener, want to run an advertisement here at the studio, he needs to call what number, Eric, to get a hold of you?
423-521-0284. That's 423-521-0284.
Now, you're an entrepreneur, Eric Judd, and you have a real estate brokerage license. You're also a real estate investor. And the new venture that you've been working on somewhat in that area is Sky Aerial Services, using, as you say, drone technology to help you connect with your property. What is that field like, and how is it growing in Chattanooga?
Well, actually, it's really taken off here, especially the past 6 months, even with all of the not so good publicity, but that's okay. What I do is provide a different perspective of someone's property. It could be their project. It could be your subdivision. It could be a development. Also do inspections for towers, such as the radio tower that we have in Saudi Daisy.
You mean your drone flies up the side of a tower and looks for cracks in the steel?
That is correct. Takes pictures, and so that the engineers can take and look at it and see what might need to be done there. I work with farms. I've worked with cattle farms. I've also worked with some sod farms and other types of farms.
Now, back up here. Why would a sod farmer, first of all, what is a sod farm, and why would a sod farmer want to engage Sky Aerial Services?
A sod farm is where they produce grass, so that they would cut the grass right below the root, and then they take that and they put it in your yard so they can sod your yard and you can have grass in your yard. What I do for them is I take pictures and map out the various areas of the farm, and then they take that and they look at it and they see where they may need additional irrigation, or they may need less irrigation, or maybe some type of pest control.
But do you help the customer of this sod farmer, or is that that's another line entirely? That would be a homeowner, let's say, who wants a yard sodded, or a new house being built that's all dirt, and we need to have a yard, right? So
right. So they would have sod brought in to put in. Okay. That way that it would be quicker than seeding the yard.
Right. So the sod farmer engages Sky Aerial Services because he wants sort of surveillance on grass.
He wants to be more productive with what he's growing. Same thing. I work with cattle farmers. They want to see how the migration of the cattle go from field to field, to see if they need to move them in a different way so that they can keep the growth of their grass in certain areas. So that the cattle aren't always feeding in the same areas over and over.
That was a recent job, Eric Judd?
That is correct. I did a cattle farm about 3 weeks ago. He was worried about 50 acres he had. It was actually it was cut up into 4 different parcels with fencing. But he left his fencing open, and he allowed the cattle to move between the 4. What I did is I went over and took aerial photos, and then he went and looked at it and said, okay, maybe I need to close a couple of fences to keep them in a certain area for a certain length of time to allow the grass to grow back in another area of the farm.
Now, you've done aerial photography for large real estate houses.
That is correct. I work with individual agents and real estate houses. Is this a product for every house on the market? No. But if you get over a certain price range, or you have a certain acreage, or if you're a commercial real estate agent that you want to show the depth and the brevity of the project, maybe the building, or maybe it is acreage, that's where I would come in to help them out.
So say something about the drones that you have available. What do they look like? How do they work? How long can they stay aloft? And does it have a camera that pivots on its own, or do you have to turn the whole vessel left and right to swing the camera about?
Well, the drones are actually a lot smaller than what people think they would be. They're very lightweight. I fly quads. They all have a camera on them, and a
quad means four sets of rotors.
That's correct. And then the camera is mounted on the bottom. The camera can rotate up and down, but if you need any side-to-side movement, then the drone itself would have to move. It is a non-telescoping lens on the cameras, meaning that I can't zoom in on a project if I'm 200 feet up. That's the perspective you're going to get. The average time, depending on the wind and the weather and the type of flying I'm doing, is anywhere between 18 and 20 minutes. If it's a project where I'm going to do some time-lapse photography, then it may stay up as long as 24 minutes, but that's putting the drone in the air and it not moving.
Okay, so time-lapse photography, why would someone need that? I don't quite understand the benefit of that.
Time-lapse photography is good. A local marina had me go out for 4 days and do an hour a day in time-lapse. They just wanted to see the movements of the boats in and out of the marina, and it is just a different perspective. I took a picture every 5 seconds for a period of an hour, which will go down to about a minute worth of video.
Okay, so was the drone stationary?
It was. The drone was stationary. In fact, with the GPS system on the drone, I put it in the same place all 3 days, which was really nice. Yeah.
Okay, well, what about wind gusts up there? How do you control for that?
Well, because of the way the GPS technology works, the drone is very stable and can hold its course up to about a 25, 27 mile an hour wind. You get over that, it is going to move around, and that's going to affect the picture. Because the camera is on a gimbal, and so it allows, no matter if the drone could be tilted as much as a 15-degree angle, the camera is going to be facing at a level, very level. So you're not going to see movements. The last thing you want to see, whether it's video or you're doing still photography, is a lot of movement. People don't like the fast moving. If you've ever seen a video where someone's holding a video camera and they're moving around real quick, it's very shaky and unstable. This takes all of that out and gives you a nice stable
Is there a
picture.
gyro stabilizer on the camera that keeps it always at the same angle?
To a certain
Like
degree.
a tank
It's a half gyro is what it is, and that's what a gimbal is. And so the camera is mounted so it will stay straight, even though the drone may move 5, 10, or 15 degrees, the camera stays in the level position.
Well, is the technology improving? When you invest in your business, will you be buying a larger copter? And what is the market for this service telling you?
Well, the market is, in my estimation, is at its very infancy. So the sky is the limit, as they say. There are so many uses for drones that are not being used in a commercial way. I know everyone hears about Amazon and Google and the delivery of packages. That's just a very, very small part of it. Just in the past 6 months, the technology has advanced so that is just simply amazing. I mean, the new drones that are coming out now, instead of having a platform where you would have what they call 2 sticks to direct the up and down and movements of the drone. They have a glove that you wear, and you control the drone just by moving the glove. They will automatically follow you. They are now getting into technology that will sense structures and trees and things, so that, it's really taking that away as a hazard. If you're flying around here, if you take off and you're flying 200 feet, well, there could be a ridge or a large structure come upon you in a hurry. Well, the drones right now, the drone that I have, I'm the one that has to make sure I don't hit that structure. The new drones coming out have sensors on them that would automatically go around or over that structure.
The news about a month ago, Eric Judd of Sky Aerial Services, was the announcement by the Federal Aviation Administration that it plans to regulate the use of drones. What have you heard about that, and to what extent are you subject to the good people in regulation of this free market enterprise?
Well, they really have not done anything since the first year. They made an announcement that they are going to come up with a policy for that. That's going to be interesting to see, because you have some large entities as Google and Amazon and other entities out there. How are they going to play in this? They're going to have to take that into consideration. Right now, if you're flying in a commercial sense, you cannot go over 400 feet. You have to notify an airport if you're within 3.5 miles of that airport, and they have the right to deny you flying. And that would be if you're in the flight path, which, we've heard that on the news. There have been a lot of that.
Do you have to be 3.5 miles from the path or from the facility?
From the facility. So, I always go in and check in if I'm around the airport. I try not to fly around the larger airports. If I do, it's going to be at a very low level. If I'm flying at 200 feet, even if I were in the flight path, more than likely, if that plane hits me, that plane is going to have a little more problems than just worried about my drone, because they're coming in pretty low at 200 feet where I would be flying. But I mean, the regulations do not make sense now. Why 400 feet? To be honest with you, with most of the cameras that are out there, you get over 400 feet, you're going to be so small in what you can see anyway, where I need slow, low flying because I'm looking for detail. And that's why I use high definition cameras.
Well, how much does a drone cost?
You can get a drone for $60 that you can fly in your house. It's about
in the toy shop,
of a
right?
phone. And you can get it in the toy shop, and you can get them all the way up for just a drone for about $15,000, and then you can add whatever camera you want to. So it all depends on your budget.
If a plane hits a drone, I would think that even if it's a small plane, it would probably do hardly any damage to it. If you had a single engine Cessna hitting a drone, the pilot would certainly feel it in the frame of his plane, but a larger plane, a passenger jet, even a small one, would not even notice that.
Oh, I would agree. The drone would lose just about every time.
This is David Tulis, caller. What's on your mind?
Good morning, Fran and Ollie. It's Confederate Mike.
What a surprise.
The FAA can talk all they want about a 3.5 mile limit for drones. They're full of crap. First of all, you're not a licensed pilot, so I don't know whether they have jurisdiction. Secondly, if you look at airspace, it looks like an upside down birthday cake, which means if you are a licensed pilot, you may be 30 miles away and you can't be at a certain height. It may be 4,000 or 5,000 feet. So it's up to every individual to know where the airspace is for that particular aircraft, especially the commercial craft. And let me tell you, I don't care if you're 10 miles away. You crash into an airplane, you're going to go after you criminally. So this is one of common sense. It's a matter of, well, if I'm 3.5 miles away from an airport, hey, come on. Is it C airspace like Chattanooga? Is it B? Is it uncontrolled airspace? There's a lot people have to learn when they put a bird in the air, even at 400 feet. Because trust me, if you go to East Brainerd, you could sit right there at the runway, at the end of the runway. And if you're up at 100 feet and you're in the final flight path, you're in their airspace. But this is a matter of jurisdiction and regulations. And where you put something in the air with another airplane, you better know the rules, because even if you're given permission at 3.5 miles away to fly that, if your drone hits a plane and you're at fault, you're going to be prosecuted probably criminally and civilly.
Have you had any exciting stories, Eric, or have you had any crashes with your drone?
No, knock on wood, have not crashed and do not need to crash. I guess the only exciting that you and I had heard, a client that we were talking to about advertising on the radio, he has a drone very similar to mine. And the poor fellow had used it a couple of times, and he took off, was going to take some pictures of a marina, and for some reason the drone just took off. It was out of his control, and fortunately enough, it actually come back around to him, but a tree was in between he and the drone, and the tree won.
He said that his signals were interfered with by all the steel of the marina property.
I don't know about that. I mean, maybe he would probably know more about that than I would, but I do find some interference from time to time with power lines, depending on how strong the power lines, and of course, power lines are one of the things you want to stay away from. So,
this is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, and this is David Tulis. I wanted to make sure you go to eat out at Choo Choo Barbecue, or more importantly, since you have something coming up here in the Thanksgiving holiday season, have some catering done by Choo Choo. That's Choo Choo Barbecue. 870-7894 is the number, and you'll enjoy the secret rub and a very fine smoked flavor of the Hickson Choo Choo Barbecue right near the Valley Brook. We're also brought to you by Bruce Krebs, who runs Entrepreneur Source. Bruce is the man to help you get into a business. My suggestion is, in terms of local economy, that you start a business now. Plan now for something. If you don't have an idea for your own operation, buy into somebody else's idea. And Bruce Krebs will help get you into a business that suits the local economy here in Chattanooga and Helena County. He's a very experienced business coach and headhunter. and will help you find your way in the business field. His number is 875-5621, 875-5621. In fact, a man at Panera Posse, which meets every Friday morning for coffee and bagels here in Hickson, bought a franchise from Bruce, and he is in the tub replacement building field, and a man who's going to be overseeing that project here in the Chattanooga area. Again, Bruce Krebs, Entrepreneur Source, 875-5621. We're talking with Eric Judd of Sky Aerial Services. Eric, how can my listener get a hold of you if he has a project in mind?
They can give me a call at 423-521-0284. That's 423-521-0284. Thank you, David.
This is David Tulis, and if you need a firearm for self-defense or defense of homeland, make sure you go to Carter Shooting Supply on Highway 58. Carter Shooting Supply has many choices of long guns and handguns. This is David Tulis. I do thank you for giving me just a couple of minutes of your time. And remember, if you support our radio station, you support our advertisers. That's how radio works. It's a great system, indirect support. That's how you do it. Thanks very much.
Expect a chilly start to your Monday with some clouds around, but looking dry through the afternoon. Highs back into the lower 60s. Tonight, some clouds not nearly as cool, lows closer to 50. For Tuesday, highs mid-upper 60s with areas of rain and thunder showers moving in later Wednesday. Join us for a Christmas auction and luncheon to benefit the media ministries of Abba's House next Sunday. Lots of great items for your holiday gifts, decorations, and food will be auctioned off. For tickets, abbashouse.com/auction. And I'm Source Team 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Ward on AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Cell Surgeon, an affordable quick fix for your smartphone and tablet in Northgate Mall next to Old Chicago Pizza.
We do the best quality work, we have the best customer service, and most competitive prices around.
Cell Surgeon, a painless operation to fix your sick device.
Well, if you have a cheap charger or something that's not really designed for your phone, it can mess with your battery. It can actually fry your phone. So you need to make sure you have a quality product that's going to be designed for your phone.
Cell Surgeon, your smartphone doctor's in the house at the Northgate Mall next to Old Chicago Pizza.
You charge it in the morning, and by noon it's at 50% under normal use. That means your battery's pretty much dead. And once you've reached that point, it starts to deteriorate.
Cell Surgeon, call 423-668-0100 or go to cellphonerepairchattanooga.com.
We do free estimates. If your phone's not working properly, bring it in when we weren't happy to take a look at it and diagnose it and see what we think is wrong with it at no charge. Most phone repairs can be done in 30 minutes or less.
Cell Surgeon, an affordable quick fix for your smartphone and tablet in Northgate Mall next to Old Chicago Pizza.
Don't take it in the bathroom. Don't ever put it in your back pocket. And don't charge your phone while you're sleeping.
Cell Surgeon, an affordable quick fix for your smartphone and tablet in Northgate Mall next to Old Chicago Pizza. Call 423-668-0100 or go to cellphonerepairchattanooga.com. That's cellphonerepairchattanooga.com. Cell Surgeon, your smart device doctor is in the house.
I love my Flex loan from Advance Financial. I needed cash, I needed it fast, and I didn't want to get a payday loan. My Flex loan from Advance Financial is not a payday loan. It's a line of credit. I only pay for the cash I need, and I only pay for the time that I need it. There's no lump sum pay.